What did ancient humans do at night? Before electricity, before screens, the world simply went dark. But they did not just sleep for 12 hours. For most of human history, people slept in 2 shifts. They went to bed soon after dark, woke around midnight, and stayed awake for an hour or 2. This was called the watch. In that quiet hour, people prayed, told stories, tended the fire, or simply lay there thinking. Then they drifted back to sleep until dawn. Some gathered close around the fire because light meant safety, and the dark was full of predators. Others looked up at a sky so full of stars we can barely imagine it today. The night was not empty. It was sacred. So next time you can't sleep at 3 in the morning, remember. Your ancestors were awake too. Taming fire might be the single most important thing our species ever did. Before fire, humans ate raw food and shivered through freezing nights. Then, somewhere around 1 million years ago, we learned to control the flame, and everything changed. Cooking unlocked far more energy from food, and scientists believe this is exactly what let the human brain grow so large. Fire pushed back predators, so for the first time humans could sleep deeply and safely. But maybe the biggest change was social. The fire became the first gathering place. People stayed up after dark, sitting in its glow, and that is almost certainly where storytelling was born. Around that fire, language, myth, and culture itself began to take shape. We did not just tame fire. Fire helped make us human. What did ancient humans actually eat? Forget the idea that they only hunted mammoths. For most of human history, the real food came from women gathering. Berries, nuts, roots, seeds, and honey made up the majority of every meal. Meat was a rare prize, not a daily dinner. And here's the strange part. Ancient humans were often taller and had stronger bones than the farmers who came after them. Their varied diet of wild plants and occasional meat was, in some ways, healthier than the grain-heavy diet that farming brought. They also knew hundreds of plants by heart, which ones healed, which ones killed, and which ones could be eaten only after cooking. Every person was a walking encyclopedia of the land. Did ancient humans have medicine? Far more than you would think. With no hospitals and no chemists, they became experts in the natural world. They chewed willow bark for pain, the same chemical we now call aspirin. They packed wounds with honey, which we now know actually kills bacteria. They used clay, herbs, mold, and moss as treatments thousands of years before modern science explained why they worked. We have even found ancient skulls with neat holes drilled into them, a surgery called trepanation, and astonishingly, the bone had healed, meaning the patient survived. Some skeletons show people who lived for years with injuries that would have killed them alone, proof that the group cared for the sick and the wounded. Ancient humans were not helpless against disease. They were the first doctors. How did ancient humans know what time it was, with no clocks at all? The answer is they read the sky like we read a phone. The sun told them the hour. Its angle, its shadow, its color at the horizon. The moon told them the month, growing and shrinking in a cycle they tracked carefully. And the stars told them the seasons. The rising of certain constellations meant the rains were coming, or the herds were migrating, or it was time to plant. Some ancient peoples could predict an eclipse. They built giant stone monuments aligned perfectly to the sunrise on a single day of the year. Without a single number or written word, they understood the rhythm of the entire cosmos. We have clocks now. They had the sky. How did human language begin? It is one of the greatest mysteries in all of science, because words leave no fossils. But here is what we think happened. It probably started with gestures and simple sounds, warnings, calls, pointing at danger or food. Over thousands of generations, those sounds grew richer, until they could describe things that were not even there. A hunt that happened yesterday. A place over the hills. A plan for tomorrow. This was the true revolution. Humans could now share imagination itself. We could tell stories, pass down knowledge, and unite hundreds of strangers around a shared idea, a god, a tribe, a myth. No other animal can do this. Language is the invisible thread that tied our whole species together. Every word you speak is the echo of that first conversation. What did ancient humans do for fun? It turns out, a lot. Life was not all survival. We have found flutes carved from bird bone over 40,000 years old, which means music is older than farming, older than cities, older than writing. They danced. They painted breathtaking animals deep inside caves by firelight, art so good it stunned modern painters. Children played with tiny toy versions of tools and animals. Adults gambled with carved dice and played games we still cannot fully understand. And they decorated themselves with beads, paint, and jewelry made from shells traded across hundreds of miles. The desire to create, to play, and to be beautiful is not modern. It is ancient. It is one of the oldest parts of being human. How did ancient humans raise their children? Very differently from how we do today. A child was almost never raised by two parents alone. Instead, the whole group raised them together. Aunts, grandparents, older siblings, and friends all shared the work. Scientists call this alloparenting, and it may be one of the reasons our species survived. Children learned not from school, but by watching, copying, and playing. By the age of 10, a child might already know how to track animals, find water, and name 100 plants. And grandmothers were vital. Unlike most animals, humans live long past their childbearing years, and that extra wisdom, passed from elder to child, gave us a huge advantage. It really did take a village. For almost all of human history, that was the only way. Here is something almost impossible to believe. Every single human alive today descends from a small group of people who once lived in Africa. And then, around 60,000 years ago, they began to walk. With no maps, no roads, and no idea what lay ahead, ancient humans spread across the entire planet. They crossed scorching deserts and frozen tundra. They built boats and sailed to islands they could not even see. They walked into Europe, into Asia, and across a land bridge into the Americas. They survived ice ages and met other human species along the way. Within a few thousand years, a single curious species had reached almost every corner of the earth. No other large animal has ever spread so far, so fast. That restless urge to see what is over the next hill is written into all of us. It is why we are everywhere. You have probably heard that ancient humans all died by the age of 30. It is one of the most misunderstood facts in history. The truth is, that number is an average, and it is dragged down by one tragic reality: very high child mortality. Many babies died young, which pulls the average age way down. But if you survived childhood, you had a good chance of living into your 60s or even 70s. Ancient societies were full of healthy elders, the keepers of memory and wisdom. They did not drop dead at 30. In fact, without modern sugar, processed food, and constant sitting, those who survived were often remarkably fit and strong right into old age. So the next time someone says cavemen died at 30, you will know the real story. They lived. And some of them lived long.